Hey everyone, it's Mike Hambright with FlipNerd.com. Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Expert Interview Show. That is episode number 292 with Dan Schwartz. In this show, I interview leaders and entrepreneurs from across the real estate investing industry. And if you are a member of FlipNerd.com already, hey, great to see you. And if you are not a member, go on over to FlipNerd.com. You can get a free membership in literally about 15 or 20 seconds. So again, this is episode 292 with Dan Schwartz. Dan is a real estate investor. He's an automation expert. A lot of folks... Dan's got a lot of stuff going on these days, and a lot of people are excited about what he's working on. And he's a real-life rock star. I think Dan is also in a rock band, so we'll let him tell us a little bit more about that. So, Dan, how are you doing today, my friend?
Doing great. Thanks for having me, Mike.
That's right. You are in a rock band, right?
I used to be in a rock band.
Used to be. Okay.
I was in a rock band. I realized that I couldn't have it all and went real estate path instead.
Yeah. That's funny. I don't know if I told the story on a show before, but I used to have a Google alert. A long time ago when I started fooling with Google alerts, I set up Mike Hambright as a Google alert thinking, hey, if anybody says my name, I want to know about it. Well, it turns out that there is another Mike Hambright that was in a rock band, and he was a lot cooler than me. And so all these notices are, I'm like, about, rock star type stuff. And I was like, okay, I don't need to see this anymore. So remove that, remove that alert.
You're a rock star in your own right, Mike.
Yeah. My grandma loves me. So, hey man, so tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah. So I guess we can kind of rewind to 2010. I just graduated from college with a degree in marketing, University of Maryland. Go Terps. And I had gotten into real estate basically because I decided I didn't want to get a job. I figured the best way to avoid the rat race was just to not get in it at all. Because I know that you can get trapped, and once you have a job, then it's hard to get out of the job. So I sort of saw that path in front of me, and I just chose to completely avoid that path. And I'm so glad I did, because it's led to where I am today. And I went to a Rich Dad, Poor Dad, one of those free seminars that they pitch. And I went with my dad, actually, and he was also interested in real estate. He's had his license for a long time, not practicing, but he's just been, we've had real estate in the family for a couple generations.
Okay.
But Rich Dad, Poor Dad kind of gave me the idea for assignments, and I did some research in my own market. Is this possible? Is this a real thing? Like, could I actually make $9,000 just flipping paper? And that led to me finding my business partner, Mike Casey, who is a great real estate mind. He just needed organizational help. He needed a marketing mind like myself to kind of make it a business. Yeah. So we created Equity Merchants in Baltimore. And since then, we've done well over 100 deals. I feel like I've been saying 100 deals for a while now, so it's probably more than that at this point. But throughout that whole process, I was also touring in this band that we had started in college in 2007. It's a funk band called Pigeons Playing Ping Pong. You won't forget that name.
No.
And I played drums for this band and loved it. I loved performing. I loved playing the drums, and I loved the music. We were playing just really dancey, funky music for people, and just persistently kept gigging around the DC, Baltimore area, and kind of grew a little flock, as we call them, of fans. And it just blossomed out into a national touring act, playing over 180 shows a year.
Wow. Just
through grassroots, building fans, one at a time, and recording albums and writing music. So I was living that lifestyle while simultaneously flipping houses. I absolutely thought that I could be a real estate rock star. I thought I could have money and be a musician, which isn't something that usually comes together in the land of music these days. So I was fortunate enough to have the energy somehow to be able to do that. But I realized that I was spreading myself too thin, and I was sort of doing both activities half-assed. And I needed to figure out a way to systemize my real estate business so that I could keep doing what I love, which is music and performing and all of that stuff, exercising my creative mind, while also having a system that manages my team and kind of automates the processes that would usually involve me.
Yeah.
And that led to Podio. I discovered Podio through Joe McCall and a couple other people who were just sort of mentioning it in passing a couple of
Right.
years ago. And since then, Podio has kind of blown up as like the go-to CRM
Yeah.
because investors love it because you can design the way you execute deals
Yeah.
rather than just having a repository for information about a lead or a deal. Now you can actually design like how you're going to get the deal done from point A to point B.
Sure.
And automate a lot of the process along the way and a lot of the communication follow up along the way.
Yeah.
So I sort of took a fascination to that as a purely out of circumstance from touring.
That's awesome. Yeah, kind of you were forced into a situation where you had to kind of get automated and streamlined.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I absolutely did. And I also started showing other investors that I was doing that. And after the 20th person said, hey, can you do this for me on my Podio workspace? I knew that I had to sort of, in order to like deliver the most possible value, I had to scale this company and create a service around it. This was actually after I had decided to leave the band. I decided to leave the band at the end of 2014, mainly just because of I just wanted to live a healthier lifestyle and kind of be in more control of my time. And I knew that if I went all in mentally on one thing and had the freedom of time, then it would serve the world in a bigger way than if I had split my focus.
Yeah. Awesome. I'm not sure if I said it up front to those of you listening. We're obviously going to be talking about automation, how to become a better entrepreneur through automation and systems. And Dan's an expert there. For those of you that have been listening to our show, how we kind of changed the format in 2016, we break the show apart into two segments. So part one is kind of the skills to focus on in your automation, the skills you need to have. And then part two, we're going to talk about how to build out your team and how to kind of get some of the things that you're not good at off your plate and install some automation there. So Dan, let's kind of jump into the skills section here. Part one, talking about skills that people need to have and some of the areas that where they may know if they have a weakness that they need to fill.
Right. Well, yeah. So you want to design your business so that you're focusing on your highest and best use, obviously, which is a vague thing to say, but generally speaking, as an entrepreneur, there's a couple things that you need to focus on, and that's basically improving and building your skills. And some of the skills that are basically necessary, and Mike, you can feel free to add to this list, but the first kind of foundational skill you need to have is just your mindset and in general, an abundance mentality. The one thing, it's like the biggest thing that's holding most people back that I've talked to is just the limiting belief that they're not deserving of doing a deal making $9,000, or they're not deserving of like bringing team around them to do things that they think they should be doing, or just in general, just the way that they talk to themselves. You know, oh, I couldn't do that. I don't have enough time to do that. I can't do that. I shouldn't do that. The language patterns that people have.
Yeah,
it's a skill to try to shift the way you think about things and kind of focus more on how you can create stuff rather than resist stuff in your brain.
Yep.
Once you kind of cultivate an abundant mentality, as they call it, you'll have an easier time executing deals because you know it's possible. You have the belief in your mind that it's possible to do this business.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing you should focus on is mindset. That's like the foundation, right? Everybody talks about that. But then kind of branching out more specifically for real estate, interpersonal skills. As a business owner, you need to be able to talk to sellers. You need to understand how to build rapport with sellers and buyers, and how to come across in an authentic way for people, being open and transparent about the deals and what it is that you have to offer.
Yeah.
And learning how to negotiate and sales and marketing. So interpersonal skills as it relates to sales and marketing, I think, are very key elements of being an entrepreneur. And those are skills that you should absolutely focus on learning. Read books on the subjects, practice talking to sellers. So that's another skill.
That's a key one. Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see where you go with automation, because that's probably, in my experience, one of the harder things to automate and outsource.
Absolutely.
Right. It's hard as a business owner. Like, I'm the relationship guy, I'm the sales guy, or I'm the person that is the face of my company, where that's a hard one to outsource. So it'll be interesting to see where where we go with that one.
Absolutely. And there's simply some things that you can't automate in a business. Generally speaking, it's the interpersonal, it's the relationship-based parts of this business that you can't outsource,
Right.
but you can delegate.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that in a little bit.
Yep. Awesome.
And then another skill that I believe is the definition of being an entrepreneur is the ability to create a system that serves other people without your direct involvement. And figuring out how to design a system that doesn't include you as part of the system is the biggest challenge of being an entrepreneur, and
Right.
is definitely a skill. Every aspect of that process is a skill that needs to be harnessed and practiced every day. And
Sure.
you need tools and systems in your business in order to remove yourself from the things that you know you shouldn't be doing because you're not the best at them.
Right.
And it's a skill to see those things in general. So systems implementation is an essential skill.
Yeah.
And I have a good blog post that kind of dives into all these skills as well. People can check out investorfuse.com/skills. So you can put that in the show notes.
Yeah.
And lastly, the ability to analyze properties is by far like the thing that you need to be good at, no matter what role you have in the company. Getting something under contract for too high is the worst thing you could do.
Yeah.
That's how you're going to lose money. You need to be able to accurately estimate rehabs. And if you can't accurately estimate rehabs, you need to be working with someone on your team that can. That's an essential part of the business. And then once you have that rehab number, you need to be totally sure about the comps in that area. You need to double check to make sure that the property has comps and that the ARV, the asking price, is absolutely justifiable when you send it out, because literally every wholesaler, not every wholesaler, but the majority of wholesalers are going to send stuff out for too much. That's just it's a fact.
Yeah.
So you want to stand out from the crowd and be spot on with your numbers, and don't get something under contract unless you cross your T's and dotted your I's and made sure that you're getting it for the right price.
Yeah. So Dan, maybe you could take a minute to just talk about in your own business. So I know that there are some folks that focus on automation and getting themselves out to the point to where they don't talk to buyers, they don't talk to sellers, they don't do you know, anything. Which for me, I'm kind of classically trained to sit on the couch at the kitchen table and talk to people and build. Mm-hmm. So there's kind of those two dichotomies. And I think you lose. I know some people that have automated it and they have virtual assistants making offers and negotiating and all this stuff. And after I kind of learn a little bit more about them, they typically have a much lower close rate because there's just some stuff that falls through the cracks. And maybe for them, it's like, well, but I didn't have to do anything, so that's okay. So there's ways to kind of justify some of the kind of drawbacks of automation. But can you talk a little bit about your beliefs on how much you can outsource those things? And I mean, let's say automate. So it could be, I know that we're going to talk a little bit about automation doesn't necessarily mean there's a system that does it and there's no humans involved. That means you have partners or other people that kind of handle those things. But could you talk a little bit about the big things like buying and selling, how much automation you do, and maybe, what your thought is on if there's,
absolutely
a way to over automate there?
Well, I think the biggest thing that you need to figure out is what you're going to outsource and what you're going to automate. And then what are you going to keep for yourself? So you want to obviously every day you want to be doing stuff that you love, and you want to be doing stuff that you're good at. Yeah. Because generally speaking, when you do stuff that you're good at, you get in the flow state and you feel good about it, and you do an even better job. And if you just focus on doing what you're really good at, then your company is gonna thrive. If you focus on trying to do it all, then you're not really in business, and you're not also going to have as much fun as you could. So figuring out what to outsource is probably the first step. And generally speaking, for me, I'm not I wouldn't say passionate about real estate per se. I'm in the real estate profession, but I think I'm more passionate about the entrepreneurial side of this business and building a business and building a team around the value that I happen to be delivering, which is undervalued real estate. But I think for most people, it's different. Most people might love talking with people. They might love negotiating and haggling with buyers versus sellers, or vice versa. Yeah. Or they might like that, interplay between, trying to get something under contract with the seller, or working with wholesalers, or they also might like just doing the due diligence part
Yeah.
just analyzing deals and not talking with anybody.
Yeah.
Or they might love just, doing the books, balancing the books, making sure that everybody comes to closing on time. You have to know what you enjoy doing the most. And generally speaking, the only way to do that is to try everything once and sort of take mental note what you enjoy doing the most and what had the best results. And there's also, just operationally speaking, we tend to automate the lower level tasks and prioritize the higher level tasks. And you can kind of equate that to the dollar per hour amount of that task.
Yeah.
So I created a chart that kind of breaks down like $5 per hour tasks, and then on the right side, $10,000 per hour tasks, which is an exaggeration, but it could, some tasks that actually you focus on and spend time on could actually be generating $10,000.
Yeah, making offers and selling houses. Yeah,
exactly. So like $5 per hour tasks would be talking to every single lead, whether they're unqualified or not.
Yeah.
Pre-screening the lead is something that is not a $10,000 per hour task. It's a $5 to $10 per hour task.
Right.
Cold calling prospects, posting stuff to Craigslist, and then you kind of move up that ladder where $100 per hour tasks are more stuff like managing your PPC campaign or following up with leads or creating reports based on like the data from your marketing, your marketing reports. And then $1,000 per hour tasks would be like negotiating with qualified leads, talking to motivated sellers, delegating, managing your team, or networking with competition, networking with your cash buyers and other wholesalers.
Yep.
And then, so you want to be focusing on that type of stuff. And then even higher above that, you want to be focusing on hiring rock star team members that like you wouldn't be able to do your business without, like establishing value and cultures and designing systems that you can plug these people in so that you can remove yourself from like the acquisition side of the business, for instance. It's totally possible to do that.
Yeah.
And, negotiating major deals, deals that like need your intervention because you're pretty good at negotiating. Like you need to step in and do that because that's a high level stuff, or educating yourself,
Yeah.
Stuff like that is what you want to focus on. And then you want to automate the rest. And automation is a combination of using like technology, like a CRM system like Podio that actually does some of this stuff for you, like managing your database. It used to be something that you had to hire a VA for. Now it's not really something you need a VA for because Podio sort of manages itself if you have it set up properly. And then I lost my stream of thought there, but yeah, generally speaking, automation technology-wise is basically following up with leads, communicating with leads, setting tasks to remind yourself to do things for specific processes.
Or reminding somebody to do things, right?
Or reminding somebody to do things, exactly. Because automation is also outsourcing. If you're not actually physically doing it, you can consider it automated, right? But it just
right.
You just depend on some sort of human input to get it done.
Absolutely. So everyone, it's time for the taking action portion of the show. If you're hearing or watching at this point in the video, you're probably listening to us on iTunes or YouTube, or maybe even watching it on flipnerd.com. We'd love for you to join the rest of the show, but only our pro and elite level members have access to the rest of the show. So we're about to dive in with Dan Schwartz here to talk about building your team, talking about automating your team, and how to actually kind of build your team up so that you can not have to do everything yourself here. But to get there, you need to upgrade. So go on over to flipnerd.com/show292. This is episode number 292 with Dan Schwartz. flipnerd.com/292 to upgrade to listen to the rest of this show. And you'll get access to a whole bunch of other great stuff, including almost 1,200 off-market properties right now as we speak, and access to a whole bunch of other great information, hundreds of other expert interviews. So we'll see you over there, flipnerd.com/show292. Are you a member of flipnerd.com, the most robust real estate investing platform in existence, where you can find off-market wholesale deals and great vendors literally in your market? You can get access to advice from experts and learn about local clubs and events right in your backyard. If not, please visit flipnerd.com and register for a free account. You can register in less than a minute. It's pretty much the coolest site that's ever existed in the real estate investing industry. So get on over to flipnerd.com.